Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking the video out. Today we have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today, so do me a favor before we dive into these topics. If you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, make sure you leave it a like, and if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. Diving into the first topic, we're talking about the upcoming game Evil West. Reading from Gaming Bolt, it says Evil West is launching soon, and as tends to be the case with a large number of other releases, it is going to be a cross-gen title. Of course, with any new game that's being developed for so many different platforms, there are always questions of how it will be optimized for each of them. To that end, ahead of its launch, publisher Focus Entertainment has revealed what frame rate and resolution Evil West will target on all the PlayStation and Xbox platforms it's launching for. Most notable, of course, are the PS5 and Xbox Series X, both of which will see the game featuring two graphical modes. Quality mode, which will run at 4K at 30 frames per second, while performance mode will target 1080p 60 frames per second. The Xbox Series S, meanwhile, will have just one mode running at 1080p 30 frames per second, which is also the same target that you're going to see the game run at on PS4 and Xbox One. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of let you guys know about this because, I mean, this is a game I'm personally looking forward to, and you know, I will say it is a little bit disappointing, and it's always a little bit disappointing to find out, you know, the performance mode for certain games on PS5 are only going to max out at 1080p resolution, but still, I'd much rather take a 1080p 60 frames per second option than, you know, just simply having a locked 30 FPS at 4K resolution. So let me know if this is a game you're planning on picking up, and if so, which performance mode, or which mode I should say, are you planning on playing it on? Moving to the next topic, we're talking about PlayStation VR 2 and how game prices have officially been revealed. Reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, it says now that the PSVR 2 pre-orders have gone live, several of the games are now also available to pre-order, and this has revealed the price range and individual game prices of several upcoming titles. There are 9 PSVR 2 games available to pre-order at the moment, with prices ranging from $25 to $60, although some are slightly cheaper for PS Plus members, as noticed by Wario64. And so, yeah, this is something that I think a lot of people were kind of wondering, you know, what exactly are the price points for some of these PlayStation VR 2 games? What are they going to be? Well, you know, if you're looking at, let's say, Horizon Call of the Mountain, I think that this is probably the biggest PlayStation VR 2 game. That's going to run you $60. And if you're looking at another, I'd say, bigger title, such as The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution, that's going to be $40, but there are quite a few games here that are between $25 and $30. And it's also worth noting that all of the games you're looking at are going to be PSVR 2 launch titles. So there you go. If you were wondering what to expect when it comes to the pricing, there are varying price points here. And so let me know if you're picking up PSVR 2 and what you think of these price points. Moving on to the next topic, we're talking about something that, in my opinion, really isn't good at all. That is the fact that Sony is apparently looking into NFTs and the blockchain. This is what a new patent is suggesting. Again, from PlayStation Lifestyle, it says a newly revealed patent suggests that Sony NFT and blockchain implementation could be in the works, titled Tracking Unique In-Game Digital Assets Using Tokens on a Distributed Ledger. This patent by Sony Interactive Entertainment was submitted on May 7th, 2021, but was only published this week on November 10th. The abstract of the patent makes it clear that it's meant to be a system and method for tracking digital assets associated with video games. And honestly, I'm not going to bother reading it because it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo that, you know, isn't really relevant. All you need to know is it pretty much describes exactly what NFTs are and what the blockchain is. And this article concludes by saying, that said, it should be noted that the May 2021 submission date for this patent was during the midst of the NFT craze. The audience response to NFTs has shifted quite a lot since then. Sony had to explain that the PlayStation Star's digital collectibles are definitely not NFTs in July of this year, while being criticized for including a question about PlayStation NFTs in a survey at EVO. So if Sony NFTs are indeed in development, let's hope that the company navigates this very carefully. And so that's something that I do think is worth pointing out, is that when this patent was created, it really was during a time when, you know, people, I think they were under the impression that, you know, NFTs might actually go somewhere, and there's interest in this and you see more and more companies kind of jumping onto it. But if you look at where we are today, interest in NFTs and the blockchain has completely plummeted. So, hopefully this patent will end up like many other patents. And that's one last thing I want to mention, and that is nothing happens with it. We get new patents from Sony all the time and they don't go anywhere. So just figured I would let you guys know about that. But next up, we have an interesting update on Final Fantasy 16 and how there's going to be more than one playable character. This was revealed by the creative director. From PlayStation Universe, Final Fantasy 16 creative director Kazutoyo Mahiro has revealed during an interview with the Japanese outlet Game Watch that there will be another playable character in the game other than Clive Ralsfield. There isn't a lot to go on at this point, but the director simply said via translation, quote, "In the early stages, I also control characters other than Clive," end quote. The use of characters is interesting as it implies more than one additional playable character. However, it's unknown if this is anything significant or if you will be playing as someone else only for a short segment. And again, Final Fantasy 16 is currently in development for PS5 and PC, and the release date is targeting summer 2023. And more recently, we did learn that apparently it's going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive for 6 months. So yeah, it's true. That's not a whole lot to go on when it comes to what this creative director is saying, but it definitely sounds like they're implying you will be controlling another character. It could, of course, be a mistranslation, but yeah, take it for what it is. We'll have to see when Final Fantasy 16 drops if this turns out to be true or not. Moving on to the next topic, though, we have another update on the ongoing Activision Blizzard Call of Duty situation with Microsoft. This is not something that I really care to talk about too much these days, but I did tell you guys that I would keep you updated with anything of significance and of importance that I think is worth highlighting. And now we have Microsoft's Phil Spencer coming out and making it clear and making it publicly known that they are open to committing to Sony for Call of Duty staying on PlayStation for the long term. So again, reading from PlayStation Universe, it says Microsoft bigwig Phil Spencer has revealed that he is open to making a commitment to Sony that the Call of Duty franchise will remain on PlayStation platforms longer than previously agreed. This isn't the first time Spencer has addressed the situation, as he recently said that the multi-million selling franchise would remain on Sony's consoles as long as there's a PlayStation platform to ship it to. Speaking to The Verge, this is what Phil Spencer said, quote, "This idea that we would write a contract that says the word forever in it, I think is a little bit silly, but to make a longer term commitment that Sony would be comfortable with, that regulators would be comfortable with, I have no issue with that at all. We think Call of Duty will be playable on PlayStation as long as players want to play Call of Duty on PlayStation, and that's not a competitive threat against PlayStation, that's just a pragmatic way of looking at it," end quote. It continues by saying, when the podcast host seemingly began suggesting Microsoft could circumvent this by offering a PlayStation stream-only version of Call of Duty, Spencer was quick to clarify, native Call of Duty on PlayStation, not linked to them having to carry Game Pass. If they want a streaming version of Call of Duty, we could do that as well, just like we do on our own consoles. There is nothing behind my back. So yeah, this is definitely interesting to be hearing from Phil Spencer, because to me, it really is beginning to seem like maybe Microsoft is serious here about not taking Call of Duty off PlayStation. We've talked before about how that really wouldn't make much business sense. You know, Microsoft has stated multiple times that they're treating this like a Minecraft situation. And now, most interestingly, we have Phil basically saying like, look, Sony, look, Jim Ryan, if you want us to strike a more long-term deal that, and I think this wording is important, that Sony would be comfortable with and that both regulators would be comfortable with, you know, that's pretty much what he's saying here. And this could be exactly what Sony's looking for. So, you know, of course, I think if Sony had it their way, the contract or the deal would pretty much say exactly what Phil Spencer said it won't say, which is forever. But, you know, still, I think that this is yet another sign that Microsoft is trying desperately to make it clear they have no intention of pulling Call of Duty off of PlayStation. So we'll continue to follow this. I think what's going to be interesting at this point is to see if Sony actually responds to this or not. So let me know down in the comments below what you think about Microsoft's claims here, or more specifically what Phil Spencer's saying, and let me know if you think Sony is going to kind of maybe change their tune and try to work out another deal with Microsoft. And while you're at it, let me know what type of deal you could see satisfying Sony with Call of Duty. But we're going to move on to the final topic, which is some very, very good news for God of War Ragnarok, specifically sales. We recently did just talk about how it's off to a great sales start, but now we have even more sales data that should give us a better idea of just how big of a launch God of War Ragnarok has had. Apparently, it's not only beaten out Call of Duty, but Elden Ring and Pokemon in the UK, and 82% of boxed sales were on PS5. Reading from WCCF Tech, it says God of War Ragnarok is off to a great start in the UK, with the sequel's launch beating that of Call of Duty, Elden Ring, and Pokemon Legends in the UK. This data comes from Game Industry's Christopher Dring, who writes that Sony Santa Monica's hit title managed to sell more physical copies in its launch week than the most recent Pokemon entry on the Switch, Modern Warfare 2 and Elden Ring. Interestingly, the last two titles are multi-platform titles, as mentioned by GamesIndustry.biz. However, this data only includes box sales, and with Modern Warfare 2 being quite popular in the digital form as well, it's possible that the launch of the latest Call of Duty entry still has the edge over Ragnarok. Other interesting tidbits from Games Industry's article are that 12% of God of War Ragnarok sales on PS5 came from the new God of War bundle, which accounted for 60% of all PS5 consoles sold in the UK last week. And as it mentioned, 82% of all of the copies sold for Ragnarok were PlayStation 5, and the remaining 18% were for PlayStation 4. So yeah, this was something that I wanted to be sure to cover and talk to you guys about, because you know, I'm still waiting to see if we're going to get anything official from Sony, but this is a pretty big deal. You know, Sony coming out here, and specifically it's just the UK, but being able to kind of sell more physical copies than Elden Ring, Call of Duty, and Pokemon. I think that's a really good sign. Again, we don't have the digital data, and so we don't have the full picture, but nonetheless, this is yet another sign that Ragnarok is going to sell very well. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.